Bonsoir, bonsoir, chers amis. C'est Deaso et on se retrouve aujourd'hui pour ce 876e épisode sur GENSHINimpact. J'espère que vous vous portez bien. Et on se retrouve donc comme d'habitude. Bon, pas comme d'habitude, non. Bon. J'avais dit donc qu'on faisait cette semaine, bon, cette version, un petit marathon chaque semaine, bon, plus ou moins. On faisait, bon, il y a juste une semaine où on l'a pas fait. On faisait une petite quête d'histoire de personnages. Et donc aujourd'hui, nous en sommes à la quête d'histoire de Dehya. Donc Manticore, acteur. J'ai une clé des légendes pour débloquer la quête d'histoire de Dehya. Oui. On en récupère une évidemment. Bon. Sandlion. Ombre sur soi. Un jour, Paimon et vous vous promenez au grand bazar. Ah. Bon. Je m'étais rendu ici à la caravane Ribat parce qu'il y avait peut-être une chance que c'était ici. Mais non. C'était un fail. Donc évidemment, c'est une quête d'histoire. Elle va probablement durer 2 heures. J'enregistrerai tout d'une traite. Et ce sera découpé plus tard en épisode. Voilà. Et c'est la meilleure façon. Hop. C'est la meilleure façon de garantir des épisodes de durée. Un découpage d'épisodes 10. Voilà. Ah, bah, on va directement ça nous saute dessus quand on arrive au grand bazar.
Paimon's trying to remember. What else did we put on our shopping list? Oh, what a mouth-watering smell. Paimon would know the aroma of biryani anywhere. Let's go get some.
C'était pas sur notre liste, non?
We can still add it to the list.
Well, if it isn't the Traveler and Paimon. Wasn't expecting to see you here.
Hello there. Oh, it's been quite a while.
Et il y a Dunyazard qui est là aussi, c'est cool.
Huh. So you two are still hanging out together. Dehya, didn't you say last time that you were gonna head back to the desert?
I said I was going to resign from being her bodyguard, not that our friendship was over. We're still the best of friends. The Homayanis also still post jobs from time to time. Their pay is always generous, so me and the other mercs never pass them up.
I told Dehya to just stay at our place when she took one of those jobs a few days ago. My parents were delighted. They even said that it always felt like we were missing someone whenever Dehya wasn't around.
That sounds like something they would say, all right. They're always so welcoming. Anyway, the job is already taken care of, so I was gonna head back to the brigade as soon as I finished a little shopping. But the master kept insisting, and I ended up staying for another day.
You can stay for as many days as you want, Dehya. Father hasn't even gotten around to treating you to his best dishes yet.
You know I'm not the kind of person to stay put in one place like that, my lady. Don't worry, though. There'll always be next time.
What? She said they'll treat you to the best dishes! I can't believe you can still refuse that!
Évidemment.
But wait. Didn't you say last time that you would take me on a trip to the desert? Why don't you just take me with you today, when you leave? There are so many places I still haven't visited yet.
I'm sorry, my lady, but no can do. There's still a few things I need to take care of back at the brigade. Besides, the desert hasn't exactly been the most peaceful place lately.
Oh, come on. Not this again. That's also what you said last time and the time before that.
I know, I'm sorry. Just give me some more time, and I promise I'll plan the best trip ever for you.
All right, fine. To be perfectly honest, it's not that I wanted to go, it's more like I feel like something is off about you lately. Ever since you first set foot on the estate a few days ago, you've been acting anxious and even paranoid. Have you been delaying our trip because you've run into some kind of trouble?
Nah, are you kidding? You're worrying too much.
Would you swear on that? Friends shouldn't lie to each other, you know. I wouldn't pry any further if you're willing to swear on what you just said. But if something really is bothering you, then just tell me. You know I'll help you however I can.
Oh, looks like Dunyazard was onto something.
You're too perceptive, my lady. Seems I can't hide anything from you. I just thought that nothing good could come out of telling you about the messy happenings of mercenaries. Knowing too much only leads to more trouble. Mercenary life is a dog-eat-dog world where Mora reigns supreme. Everything operates on a completely different set of rules.
That doesn't change anything about what I just said, though. We're still friends, and I can only support you if I understand what's bothering you.
My lady, you're not gonna stop until you drag it out of me, are ya? All right, I'll share what I know. Let's go somewhere else first. This isn't exactly the best place for a discussion.
Bon, les courses, ce
Okay,
sera plus tard.
let's talk here. Just try not to draw any extra attention. As you may already know, the Erémites have both a lot of mercenaries and a complex organizational structure. Many mercs are no different than me, just going around looking for jobs to earn some mora. My brigade is called the Blazing Beasts. We're not a large group, but every member is loyal and brave. However, not all Erémite brigades are like mine. Some are willing to cross all kinds of lines for the sake of mora. The most notorious is a faction known as Deshret's Relics.
Deshret's Relics? Judging from the name, they must really look up to...
Bah, à la mar.
Yep, you got it. I've heard that you've already crossed paths with Ain al-Akmar. They're one of the groups under the Relic's banner.
Oh, you mean the group that tried to sell us the Divine Knowledge Capsule? Yeah, they weren't friendly at all.
Deshret's Relics is composed of many smaller brigades like Ain al-Akmar. The Relic's headquarters issues orders to all brigades under his control. On any other day, I would want nothing to do with them. Unfortunately, though, the brigade that's stirring up trouble now is none other than Dekan al-Akmar.
Dekan?
I think it means beard or something. Believe me, it's a really stupid name. I found it insufferable for years. Anyway, the real issue is that Dekan al-Akmar is led by my father, Kusela.
Say what now?
I think I'm starting to understand your anxiety now. But what did they do?
I won't go into details, my lady, but they've been involved in a lot of violent incidents. We're talking hundreds.
Hundreds?
Yep. The scenes tend to be quite gruesome, too. They strip the victims of all their valuables before murdering them. Not only have they targeted merchant caravans and ordinary citizens, but other mercenary brigades as well.
That's beyond terrible. They won't even spare their own kind.
I don't know how Deshret's Relic sees it. All I do know is that Dekan al-Akmar has become more and more aggressive over the last few years. If I don't do something about them, then even my brigade or the people of Aru village could become their next target. I just wish I knew what's driven him to do this.
Yeah. How can your father do such terrible things?
I don't know. People change. He's always been pretty pathetic. But at least in the past, there were still a few lines that he wouldn't cross.
That's setting the bar pretty low.
I mean, if he was even remotely decent, then why would I have to leave the brigade and cut all ties with him? He was loud and foolish, with no real sense of purpose. Instead of doing anything useful, he spent most of his time drinking and chasing after women. Of course, the other brigade members were just like him. Their ruckus would go on night after night.
Sounds like a nightmare.
What about your mother? Did she ever step in to stop them?
Unfortunately, I never knew my mother.
I'm sorry, Dehya. I didn't know.
It's all right, my lady. That's pretty common in mercenary circles. Didn't I mention that my father was chasing after women? I was the result of one of those encounters with some random person. He told me that he wasn't sure who my mother was. And in any case, she never came to see me. He'd say, "You'll be fine as long as you remember to stick with Dad." But even then, he left most of the parenting to the brigade. The one thing I do remember is that he used to tell me stories. But the problem was that he had terrible taste. He only knew a few stories, and even those tended to be pretty stale. They were tales of desert warriors defeating dragons in the forest, or stories of mercenaries rescuing princesses from rebel armies.
Sounds like your typical fairy tales.
More or less, yeah. They were interesting maybe the first or second time around, but after about 20 repeats, they started to get a little dull. He seemed to think those stories were the best things ever, though. He was so into them that he'd call the whole brigade over and make them perform the whole thing as a play. Even the toys he gave me would all be story props. I'd get helmets, shields, and toy swords. It was only much later when I realized that the shows were more for him than they ever were for me.
What an interesting guy.
On dirait pas qu'il avait de mauvaises intentions.
Yeah, I've always found him pretty childish, but that was something I could just shrug off. I had no reason to despise him. Until I grew up and learned the true face of Deshret's relics for myself. Looting, blackmail, violence, and fraud. They not only accepted such heinous acts, they would even openly boast about them. No one in the brigade was any kind of hero. Instead, my father and his cronies were more like the bad guys that needed to be taken down. Did they really think that as long as they didn't do any of that stuff right in front of me, I would never know?
I think I can understand your feelings. The difference between perception and reality must have hit hard.
Yeah, but don't worry, my lady. It's all water under the bridge to me now. I had a huge argument with my father and left that place behind for good. I'm not investigating them due to any bitter feelings I still have towards my father. I just want to protect those that are close to me.
On cherchait à savoir pourquoi ils se sont soudainement mis à commettre des atrocités.
Yeah. I told the boys to gather as much information as they could. Most of the reports concern violent incidents, but there's also some talk of smuggling.
I see. But isn't this investigation incredibly dangerous?
It is, but every mercenary lives life on the edge. It's a lifestyle that I enjoy.
That may be true, but it'll be impossible for those who care about you not to worry.
Well, now you get why I didn't want to share any of this with you.
What should we do? They both have valid concerns.
Je vais aller avec Dehya.
Huh? But there's no need for you to get caught up in this mess, too.
Well, she's super tough, so if she went into the desert with you, then Paimon bets the problem will be solved in no time.
I'm inclined to agree. I'd feel a lot more at ease if you took her along to help.
Allez, l'esprit tranquille.
I'll wait for news from you in the city until then. Please, stay safe.
I'm honored that you care so much for me, my lady. All right, then let's get moving. Our first stop will be Caravan Rebot, where we can catch up a bit with my fellow mercs.
Let's go. Sans lien. Hop là, bah la caravane Rebot, on n'était pas si mauvais, hein. D'ailleurs, j'ai marqué l'emplacement de la grotte qu'on avait vu dans avant-dernier épisode d'exploration, qui est fermé. Je pense qu'il y a des bonnes chances, en fait, que nous allons nous rendre dans cette grotte dans cette mission.
Hey, Dehya, you're back. Are these two friends of yours?
Bonjour, ravi de faire votre connaissance.
Likewise. There's no need to be so formal with us. We're a pretty casual crew. Anyway, since we've got a newcomer, let me fill you in on what the Khan al-Akhmar's been up to lately. They've become extremely aggressive. Apparently, even their own now have become acceptable targets. They even attack other relics brigades, just the same as any other mercenary brigade.
Even the most ferocious beasts still protect their own. And it sounds like they've thrown that straight to the wind.
That's right. Once they've collected enough loot off the other mercenaries, they sell it off to a different brigade, or turn to merchants on the black market. A portion of their profits is immediately exchanged for more food and weaponry to be used in their next violent operation.
That's terrible!
Yeah, and it really makes you wonder why they're so desperate for Mora. A few days ago, Isham and I trailed them for a while, and even disguised ourselves as merchants to conduct trade with them. We were able to learn a few things from the exchange. Rather than saying they're out to plunder and hoard Mora, it'd probably be more accurate to say that they're experiencing an internal power struggle.
Wait, a power struggle?
You heard me right. The vast majority of their victims are mercenaries from the other brigades of Deshret's relics. If their only goal is Mora, they could have gone after anybody. The targeted nature of their attacks points to a power struggle between the different brigades within the relics. That's the only plausible explanation we have. Unfortunately, we weren't able to find out anything more specific. It seems they're also trying to keep things under wraps. Oh, one last thing we discovered was that over the past few years, as the Khan al-Ahmar became more and more active, Deshret's relics as a whole became a lot weaker.
Ils sont si forts que ça?
It sounds mighty strange to me too. Harun, you can leave the rest of the investigation to us. Gotta say though, I didn't expect you to go on a whole undercover mission during the few days I was gone. Sounds like you were really putting your necks on the line, no?
Nah, it was nothing. We're just as concerned about the situation as you are. The Khan al-Ahmar is your father's crew after all.
What he said. Besides, Dehya, haven't you done more dangerous things than all of us combined? What we did is nothing compared to your experiences.
Yeah. And while they went to talk with Khan al-Ahmar, I took a look at the last camp they attacked. Any survivors of the attack were already long gone. There was nothing of value left in the camp.
Ah, Hisham and Khalaf. You're here too.
We rushed over as soon as we saw you come into Caravan Ribat. Although this new friend of yours looks a little green behind the ears, I'm sensing a special vibe from her. Now that we know you'll have a capable partner with you, we can also rest easy.
Hey, what about Paimon? Feel anything special?
Oh, you're also planning to tag along with them?
Of course! Paimon is the traveler's most important guide. Wherever she goes, Paimon will follow.
Oh, in that case, then you'd better take care of her too, Dehya.
Don't underestimate Paimon!
Don't worry about her. She may look tiny and helpless, but she's been through just as many battles as the traveler here. Even if she had only survived on sheer luck, then that alone would still make her quite formidable.
I had no idea. I guess I shouldn't judge by appearances.
Oh, one other thing, Dehya. When you're free, why don't you update the deputy about your upcoming schedule? We held another recruitment event a few days ago, but everyone only came to see the Flame Main. You weren't around at the time, so people were pretty disappointed to only find our crew of rough, unkempt guys. The deputy put a lot of effort into the event, but it was basically for nothing. Only a few people chose to stay, and that really got to him.
Sorry to hear that. I'll be sure to bring him some great liquor next time. I left in a hurry and I couldn't make it back in time for the event.
Gotta admit, I can understand their disappointment, though. You're our brigade's main selling point, after all. Now, if only the deputy could figure out a way to bring a few more smoking hot members into our ranks.
Keep dreaming. Remember the last time I invited a couple gals into the brigade? You all just froze up with your mouths gaping like a bunch of scarecrows.
Ooh.
The awkward silence and weird expressions left quite the impression on them. They were originally interested in joining us, but after that, they both told me they were too uncomfortable to stick around.
Ooh.
Hey, didn't we agree to never bring that up again?
Huh? Wait, are you serious? Why have I never heard about this?
I don't think you were part of the brigade yet.
Are you kidding me? I missed a once-in-a-lifetime moment like that and you weren't even gonna tell me?
All right. We can tell you about it later. Now's not the time.
Hey, don't you try to change the subject. You and Hisham get your butts over here and tell me everything right now.
Are they always like this?
More or less. There aren't many rules or graces when it comes to mercenaries. We're used to just speaking our minds. If someone starts getting under your skin, you just yell right back at them. And if that doesn't put an end to it, then you just challenge them to a fight. But we also don't tend to take many things too seriously. Being direct and getting it all out of your system as soon as things come up is better than keeping everything bottled up, never talking about it. That's also why I never spare their feelings when I talk to them. If I want to laugh, I'll laugh. If I'm angry, then I'll unload on them. It's hard to stop once you get used to it. Though, I can never do that when I'm with the Homayanis. Hey, knuckleheads! Can you at least tell me the rest of the intel before you go back to your bickering?
Yeah, you hear her, Holloff? Told you we gotta focus on the investigation first. I drew up a map. Right here is the spot. There you'll find the merchant caravan responsible for getting rid of Dakan al-Akhmar's looted goods. All you gotta do is wait and ambush them in the evening. They'll have no idea what hit them.
Perfect. Thanks for that. Be sure to pass my regards to everyone else in the brigade as well.
Will do. You stay safe, Dehya.
Très bien. Surveillez la route commerciale, attendez le bon moment. Ah, ok. C'est pas dans le désert. Très bien, très bien. On va voir ce que tout cela va donner. Hop.
This should be the place. Let's find a spot to hide and bide our time. It's gonna come down to a fight one way or another, so let's all be careful.
No need to worry. She knows her way around a fight.
I'm not worried about that. What I meant is that we probably shouldn't go too hard on the enemy. After all, we still need to get information out of them.
Ouais. Ah, on attend la nuit.
Here they come. You ready? Let's not give them a chance to react and end this quickly.
Faut juste leur casser la gueule vite fait.
That's close enough.
Hop là. C'était réglé.
You're the flame main.
Good. That saves me an introduction. All right, time for a little talk. Are you buddies with Dakan al-Akhmar now? Tell me, what are they after?
You know the code of being a mercenary just like everyone else. The first rule is to never divulge key information about our employer. What makes you think I'd talk?
That might have worked on an amateur, but I know you're just looking to protect your reputation. Think about it, though. What's your reputation worth if you won't have the other tools you need to succeed in this line of work? Tools like, I don't know, your limbs or eyes? You've got 5 seconds. You might want to think twice about how much your employer's information is worth to you.
What Whoa!
Et c'est ce qu'elle fait.
I'm not joking around. We can do this the easy way or the painful way. 2 seconds.
I'll save you the trouble.
Ah.
Huh? Are you crazy? He tried to bite off his own tongue. Quick, search the area for any first aid supplies.
Il s'est mordu la langue. Aïe, aïe, aïe. Il a produit le premier soir à Satar et parvient à contrôler l'imagerie de sa...
I definitely didn't expect him to go that far. Thankfully, the wound wasn't too deep, and he just passed out from the pain.
Bah oui, hein. Si tu te coupes la langue, je pense que l'hémorragie est extrêmement grande que tu... Bon, après, il faut réussir à se couper la langue avec les dents comme ça. Ça doit faire vachement mal. Mais je pense qu'il y aura tellement de sang que tu pourrais même t'étouffer avec.
But why would he be so extreme?
I just wanted to test his mettle. You can get a lot of mercenaries to talk just by threatening them. I didn't expect him to be willing to go through so much pain just to deny us some intel.
Well, he's out cold for now. We could wait for him to wake up, but maybe it's not a good idea to interrogate him any further.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It'll be a waste of time to interrogate him again after that. He might just hurt himself again if we start asking. There are lots of goods around here. Let's search the area. Maybe we'll be able to find something. I'm really sorry.
Bon. Satar n'est pas gravement blessé. Il va probablement se réveiller bientôt. Il ne devrait pas y avoir de problème à le laisser ici. Bon. On a les boîtes. Elles contiennent des armes ainsi qu'une certaine quantité de médicaments et de bandages. Il semble effectivement que le Dakan al-Ahmar soit en train de sévir. Chariot. Voilà. Les caisses contiennent beaucoup de produits de première nécessité comme de la nourriture et de l'eau. Il ne semble pas y avoir quoi que ce soit de notable. Ouais. Des trucs normaux pour une campagne.
We found a piece of paper with a bunch of names on it. Maybe it's a record of something.
Let me take a look. If this really is a merchant caravan, they should have a record of their transactions. Yep. I see an entry for Dakana Lakmar right here. Kusela, Idrisi, Bashar, and Takriti. All familiar names. Dakana Lakmar has been trading for a hefty supply of food, weapons, and medicine. It seems that in the past, they used to receive some canned knowledge as well. This caravan is just one link in their logistics chain. Once in the rainforest, the caravan will exchange the looted goods for Mora, and the funds will then be passed to a specific person. That person will then pack the caravan full of necessary goods, which will then be brought right back to Dakana Lakmar. Wait, why is there no Mora value recorded for the final transaction?
No value?
Yeah, every transaction before the last one was marked with an exact amount of Mora, but the final one, where they paid for everything to be brought back to the desert, was simply marked as delivered.
Comme correspond peut-être au transfert de marchandises précédent.
Perhaps. But they couldn't have known how much they would make off selling the loot. Do they not care about profit margins at all? Anyway, the next part's the records of the goods themselves. There are a lot of entries. Everything was probably sourced from the rainforest. Huh?
What's wrong?
Shazaman Homayani?
Homayani? You mean Dunyazard's family? Could it just be another family with the same last name?
I'd be surprised to find someone with the exact same first and last name. Shazaman Homayani is Dunyazard's father, and the head of the Homayani family. Just what the heck is going on here?
Reste calme, Dehya. Analysons la situation.
I'm sorry. You're right. I'll consider what we found and not jump to conclusions just yet. But what this piece of paper confirms is that the Homayani family has been providing goods to Dakana Lakmar.
What if the Homayanis have been kept in the dark, and don't know they've been trading with Dakan Akhmar.
That's a possibility, but if that was the case, why is this caravan specifically named Shahzaman as their person of contact? They could have just as easily bought goods such as food and medicine directly from Caravan Ribat or Port Ormos.
Il était au courant de tout, alors il est possible qu'il était leur fournisseur.
Yeah, funding violence and looting. The brigade gets the goods, and he is paid the proceeds from the sale of the loot.
But why would he do something like this? It's not like the Homianis are in need of money.
I honestly have no idea. I've been to their estate many times, and I've never noticed anything suspicious. The only potentially large expenditure I could think of would be the treatment costs for Dunyazard's Elazar. Maybe they borrowed a lot of Mora in the past? But that's still just a speculation. I don't think the Master would stoop so low to make Mora.
Certainement que Dunyazard ne sait rien de tout ça, elle non plus.
You're probably right. I know my lady's personality, and she wouldn't deliberately keep something like this from us.
But what should we do now? All we found is just another mystery.
On va au bout de notre enquête, impossible de faire marche arrière.
If you ask me, we already have no choice but to confront her about this. I'm not worried. It's too early to make a verdict yet. I still have faith in the Homianis. Let's go find my lady again. We'll tell her everything and see if she's willing to lend us her support. If we're lucky, we can not only figure out the mystery of this paper, but also follow the trail of breadcrumbs to the people responsible at Dakan al-Akhmar.
Dehya, are you sure this is the best decision? What if instead of getting the help we need, we just end up revealing everything we've discovered to the enemy?
I've considered that possibility. But even still, I want to tell her what we found. I think I owe her that much. True friendship is built on trust. She showed genuine concern for me when we first brought up the topic. I can't repay her kindness with doubt and suspicion. That's not how I deal with people.
You're right. Paimon wants to trust Dunyazard too.
J'espère qu'on pourra l'aider.
Yeah. Let's pay another visit to Sumeru City.
Bon. Lui, il est toujours là.
We're back, my lady.
Oh, you're back a lot sooner than I expected. You mustn't have run into any trouble then. Well, how did it go? What did you come up with?
Actually, we're still investigating. It's just that we've discovered something strange.
I see. The clues you found have led you back here, in the city?
Something like that. Yeah.
You all look a little dispirited. Whatever you found must not have been very encouraging after all.
Et non.
Why don't you discuss it with me? Maybe I'll be able to say something to cheer you up?
It's okay, my lady. It's not so much about me being upset with my father or anything like that. How should I put this?
So something is wrong. Even the Traveler and Paimon have been uncharacteristically quiet. On any other day, Paimon would have already waved to me with a smile and shouted, "Dunyazard, we're back!" So tell me, what happened?
Well?
My lady, please prepare yourself for what we're going to tell you next. It concerns the Master.
The Master? You mean my father? Okay, I understand. Don't worry about me. I'll listen as attentively as I can.
Sans difficulté, Dehya raconte à Dunyazard ce que vous avez découvert lors de votre enquête.
My father has been supplying goods to Dakan al-Akmar?
Yeah, it makes as little sense to us as it does to you. I've never doubted the Master's integrity, so I'm having a real hard time rationalizing how he could ever support an infamous brigade like them. Maybe he's not actually aware of the full story and just stumbled into the deal by accident.
Peu probable en revanche.
I can't help but agree with the Traveler.
Huh? You mean you feel the same way, Dunyazard?
Thank you for sharing all this information with me. Since you've told me everything you know, I should also tell you about some doubts that I've been harboring for quite a while.
Aïe aïe aïe.
In the past, I thought that my father hired a bodyguard for me so that I wouldn't run away and get lost.
Ah.
However, there are plenty of capable mercenaries in the Corps of 30. Why did my father go out of his way to hire Dehya?
About that. Well, the Homayanis really needed bodyguards, so they reached out to the Blazing Beasts. Later, the Master told me that I was one of the best mercenaries he'd ever seen, and that I should stick around to become one of his bodyguards. He offered me a pile of mora, so I just signed on.
Well, but that didn't really answer my question. Just think about it. Why did my father specifically reach out to the Blazing Beasts?
Maybe the Corps of 30 just didn't have anyone available, or maybe someone recommended us. I've never given it too much thought. I think I get what you're saying. You'd think none of this was a coincidence.
Precisely. At first glance, nothing seemed strange or out of place. But there are many parts of the story that don't actually make any sense. If my father had always been in contact with Dakan al-Akmar, then it would make sense for him to bring Dehya into our house.
You mean the goal all along was to get Dehya to be your bodyguard?
No, that's too much of a stretch. I cut all ties with my father a long time ago. He has no control over my life anymore.
But that still doesn't rule out the possibility that your father has still been trying to influence your life without you knowing.
Oui, ben... Je pense que c'est plutôt connu que Dehya soit dans cette brigade.
So, the Master was not likely an innocent victim in all of this?
Voilà, nous en sommes pour le moment.
Sorry we put all this on you so suddenly, Dunyazard.
It's okay, Paimon. I should actually be thanking you. Regardless of his reasons, if my father has truly been funding a violent group of mercenaries, then it's my duty to bring him back to reason.
But is that really the right thing to do? My father has committed many atrocities and deserves all the punishment that he has coming to him. I have zero sympathy for him. You may call me an ungrateful child, but my feelings will remain the same. However, the Homayani family has treated me with nothing but generosity and kindness. If we decide to investigate this further, we could end up implicating the entire Homayani family. I would be biting the hand that's fed me over all these years.
Dehya.
It's all right, Dehya. If anyone were to ask, you could always just say that I'm the one who instructed you to get to the bottom of this.
You don't have to do that, my lady. I'm not conflicted because I'm afraid of taking responsibility. Besides, you're the one we should all be worried about right now.
Hey, it's still too early to give up hope. What was that thing about friendship again?
Des amis doivent se faire confiance, Paimon.
Right, yeah, trust. You said that yourself, Dehya. Besides, there's no point on getting all riled up before we've confirmed all the facts.
Vous avez raison au sujet de la confiance, alors lui aussi il doit être confus.
Thank you, everyone. That makes a lot of sense. I guess I should always remember the trust that I've placed in people. In which case, my lady, could you ask the master to come out and have a chat with us?
Sure thing. I also hope he'll be able to give us a logical explanation. Let's meet at the usual place then.
Usual place? Ah, right!
Bon. Bon, l'endroit habituel. Ouais. C'est bien l'endroit auquel je pensais également.
Thank you for coming, sir. Please allow me to introduce these two. This is the traveler, and next to her is her travel companion, Paimon.
Ah, yes. My daughter has mentioned them from time to time. It's a privilege to finally meet them in person. But we may skip all the pleasantries for now. What is the important matter you wish to discuss with me today?
Well, we wanted to bring this transaction record to your attention. There's something on this record that we're all pretty curious about.
Il explique la situation et lui fait part de ses doutes.
So, that's what you found. Huh. Seems like I can't keep everything from you much longer.
If you wouldn't mind, we'd like an explanation.
Well, it's a long and difficult story. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure if I'm doing the right thing. What I do know, though, Dehya, is that the truth will bring you no solace. If anything, it will likely cause you a great amount of anguish.
Wait, me?
Yes, I understand perfectly why you came to see me. And I am touched by your collective commitment to do the right thing. But knowledge always comes at a price. And sometimes, as they say, ignorance is bliss. Your father, Kusela, and I both believed that. Of course, you have the right to seek and learn the truth, but I must warn you. The facts of this matter may reduce everything you've built for yourself into sand, blowing in the wind. If you must proceed, then Kusela's heartfelt efforts will also fade into the wind like a fleeting mirage.
His heartfelt efforts? I'm sorry, sir, but I'm not sure I follow. I've made it this far in life without a single drop of my father's support. I have my own ideals and ways of looking at the world, as well as people and causes that I've chosen to cherish and fight for. None of these things have anything to do with him. I came here today to support you as the head of the Homayani family. No warning will change my stance on that.
I understand. Then let me tell you a little story. Our family once needed to take a trip to the desert when Dunyazard was just a baby. Along the way, we were attacked by bandits. They had superior numbers and quickly overpowered our bodyguards. When all seemed lost, a group of passerby Erémites lent us their support. Those Erémites were Kusela's brigade, Dekan al-Ahmar. Kusela's men told me that the attackers were Erémite mercenaries, just like themselves. I was shocked. Why would Dekan al-Ahmar go so far to save us and not spare the fellow Erémites? Kusela was grinning and walked over to play with baby Dunyazard. She was startled by his unfamiliar face and nearly started crying.
Really? I never knew.
He said that he had no particular reason to help us. He just took pity on us because he had a daughter about the same age. We started talking about our children, and I sensed that he was a devoted father. To repay his kindness, I hired his brigade to help out at our estate for a time, and offered everyone generous remuneration.
So, that's what happened.
It was many years before I saw him again. I almost didn't recognize him the next time he came knocking on my door. The man I knew to be strong and healthy had been reduced to a shell of himself. He couldn't even walk anymore without his cane.
So, what happened to him? He was perfectly fine when I left the brigade.
I'm not too sure myself. The only thing that didn't change was his cheery disposition. He said there was absolutely nothing to worry about and that he had gotten into a fight. That was all. He then suddenly asked me if Dunyazard, now that she had grown, would need a bodyguard of her own. At the time, Dunyazard was going through a particularly severe bout of her Elazar. There was no need for her to have a bodyguard when she could barely leave the house. But he kept coming back to the topic. Come on, it never hurts to be safe. How do you know a bodyguard won't come in handy one day? I was completely lost at first, until he recommended the Blazing Beasts, and in particular, a mercenary named Dehya.
So he was the one who recommended Dehya to you.
Indeed. He didn't say it out loud, but it was clear that he saw Deshret's relics as an evil group who would eventually corrupt every member in their ranks. He was already beyond redemption, but he hoped that he would be able to detach his daughter from the vicious world of mercenary life. If Dehya could stay in my house and keep working as a bodyguard, then gradually her affinity for the desert would decrease, and she'd be able to leave her previous life behind.
And that's why you offered her such generous compensation?
Yes, but not just because of that. From the moment that he asked me for that favor, I also began to see Dehya as my own daughter. And that's also why I tried to persuade you to stay when you asked for permission to leave. I was willing to spend however much it took. Kusela saved my daughter and I all those years ago in the desert. I could never refuse him entrusting his daughter to me.
He was always like that, acting like he's oh so smart and self-righteous.
Kusela said that he'd reimburse me for a portion of Dehya's fees. I refused to take any Mora from him, but he'd always send me funds anyway. Eventually, I just accepted them as a token of his gratitude. And that went on for a while until I received another letter from him a few years ago. The letter contained a request to help him buy food, weapons, medicine, and even explosive materials.
Wait! Isn't that around the time that Dekan al-Ahmar started becoming more aggressive?
That's right. When I started to hear some nasty rumors, I became wary. I wanted to meet him face to face to discuss things. But by then, he was no longer receptive to my requests to talk. If I had to guess, it's probably because he doesn't want to put Dehya at risk.
Dans ce cas, il n'aurait pas dû vous demander de l'approvisionner.
That thought occurred to me as well. I figured that he probably came to me for help because he had nobody else to turn to. After some deliberation, I decided to send him some food and medicine. I turned down all his requests for explosives and weaponry. I am aware that even such a reduced gesture of support could lead to others coming to harm, but I could not simply reject his plea for help. In the end, it probably was the wrong decision. I plugged my ears to the rumors and just chose a solution that made me feel least guilty about my...
If you can, please tell me where he is now. None of the things he's doing right now make any sense if he's just trying to keep me from getting tangled up in his world. If all he wants to do is steer clear of me, then maybe he shouldn't have brought me into this world in the first place.
Oh no. Dehya, please don't feel that way.
I'm just angry because I can't wrap my head around any of his actions.
C'est qu'il y a une explication à tout ça.
Another way? I don't know. I knew him, and he was nothing more than a childish brute. I can't understand what's going through his head. But I guess you do have a point. We haven't uncovered the whole truth yet. We still need to figure out his exact actions and reasoning for these last few years.
I'll do my best to help. Of course, anything between the two of you would need to be resolved between you and him alone. I don't know Kusela's exact whereabouts. Outside of supplying his brigade with some goods, I tried my best to avoid getting involved any further with him. However, there's a man on the list named Jawed. He used to be a mercenary in the desert and is now a member of the Corps of 30. He's responsible for supplying weapons and liaising with the Dekhan al-Akhmar's merchant caravan. I think he should know Kusela's whereabouts. I've heard that he likes to have a few drinks alone and enjoy the cool wind at night outside the tavern. Maybe you'll be able to find him there.
Understood. Thank you, sir. Then I guess this is bye for now, unless...
I'll stay and be with my father here. To be honest, I'm still a little dazed and haven't finished processing everything quite yet. My father has indeed done something wrong, but if I think about it, I'm also not sure if there was a right way to handle this problem. I feel like our only course of action is to turn everything we know over to the Corps of 30 and let them render judgment.
Yes. I am prepared to accept whatever verdict they choose. It's time to face my mistakes.
Bon. Chercher Jawad. Le soir, le soir. Ben... On attend, on attend. C'est en 20h. Ah bah il est là. Bonjour Monsieur Jawad.
Huh? Who are you guys?
I know what you've been up to. Smuggling weapons to violent brigades in the desert while working for the Corps. Pretty bold, if you ask me.
Shh. Keep your voice down. How do you know all that? Come with me. We should take this elsewhere. I'll be happy to talk things over once we're somewhere private. This place should do. All right. Back to my question. How did you all know about me?
Don't worry about that for now. You know what kind of punishment you'll face once we report you to the Corps, I assume.
Wait. There's no need to jump the gun. Let's talk this out. What are your terms?
So what's in it for you anyway, Mora?
Well, I was a little tight on money at the time, and Kusela took good care of me in the past. I waited in my mind, and I couldn't find a reason to turn the opportunity down. I wouldn't only be helping my benefactor, but I could also make some quick Mora.
Let me tell you how it is. We're investigating Dekhan al-Akhmar, and we're gonna put an end to their operations. If you provide some help for us, then we might just put in a good word later to reduce the terms of your punishment.
Hey, why don't we discuss this a little first? Listen, I made quite a bit of Mora from my last run. You just give me a number, and I'm sure we can...
Shut it. My patience is running out. You should know when a mercenary is after something other than money.
All right, sheesh. But you gotta promise you'll put in some nice words for me later. They're always on the move. Here's the spot they were at the last time I made my delivery to the desert. Feel free to go have a look. I'm just telling you though, it's not on me if they're not there anymore.
Sure. And then you can forget about any nice words from us.
Hey, come on. Now you're just being unreasonable.
Really? And how do I know you're not leading us straight into a trap? Don't forget, you're the one with no bargaining chips.
All right, I get it. Why don't you go take a look, and if they're not there anymore, I'll try to figure out something else for you all.
Now that's more like it. Let's move. And as for you, try to stick around the city until we get back. You don't want us to call the folks from the Corps and have them drag you back to the city.
Don't worry. I'm not going anywhere.
Ne s'enfuit pas. Bon. Ok. Près du rocher Agnovore.